Welcome, everybody. So good morning. I'm Steve Rosansky, President and CEO of the Newport Beach Chamber of Commerce, and I want to welcome you to our August 3rd meeting of our Wake Up Newport. Glad you could be here. I know it's a little hot and muggy. We turned on the air conditioning as soon as we got here, so hopefully it'll keep you all cool. We got a great program here. Had a last-minute cancellation, and our speaker, Dave Webb, he jumped right in, so I appreciate that. Before we get to that, we have a few announcements. Unfortunately, Rush Hill, he couldn't be here to introduce our speaker. When I called him, he said he was eating dinner at some restaurant in the Bahamas. So we won't be seeing Rush today, but I'll take over his duties. So as we always do, I'd like to introduce or mention some of the VIPs that have showed up here this morning for our program. So first off, we have Councilman Jeff Herdman, and right here, Councilman Scott Piotr in the back there, hiding behind the camera. We also have former Mayor and City Councilman Keith Curry with us this morning. A couple of the Harbor Commissioners made it over here. Duncan McIntosh, Duncan, back there. If you ever want to know how the boat show gets done in the harbor, that's the man that does it, Duncan McIntosh. He's in charge of that. Also owns the LA Weekly, believe it or not. So if you enjoy that. OC Weekly, sorry. OC Weekly. Yeah, OC Weekly. Darn, blew it. Also with us, a new Harbor Commissioner, Scott Cunningham. Scott, right over here. And with us from the Planning Commission, we have Peter Ketting. Peter. Bill Dunlop, and a new planning commissioner, Lauren Kleiman. And with us this morning from our staff, Laura Detweiler, Parks, Beaches, and Recreation. It's a busy time for Laura. I don't even know how she has time to be here with all what's going on around town and parks and beaches. You don't sleep? Is that what those toothpicks are for? Okay. And our police chief, John Lewis, is here with us this morning as well. And last but not least, our speaker at our last Government Affairs Committee meeting, Pierce Swan with the Irvine Ranch Water District. And she's waving at somebody. Oh, hey.
Hi, and I just want to introduce myself. I'm the new Arts Commissioner. I am a volunteer in the Arts Commission. My name is Grace Devine with an I. And please, you're welcome to reach out to me for anything you might need as a friend. Whatever.
Okay, thank you for coming, Grace. I don't think have we met before? You look familiar, but.
You know what? I don't think I've ever had the pleasure to be such a great gentleman.
Okay, well, you're invited back to all of our meetings. So thank you, all of you guys, for coming, and as well as our regular guests. So I'm going to just go right in and start with the introduction of our speaker. So as many of you know, I was a city. Oh, we have another one? Oh, that's right. I'm sorry. Jeez, I forgot. Yeah, food. Who had the quiche this morning? Came from the Village Inn, and Tracy Staten with the Village Inn is going to come up here and tell us a little bit about what they do there. Sorry about that, Tracy. Yeah. I got so rattled by that great comment that I just blew me.
Flooding with the compliments?
Yeah, I was like, whoa.
Good morning, everyone. Thank you so much for having us here today. We are from the Village Inn, and we provided the quiche this morning, so hopefully you all had an opportunity to have some. If not, we have extras, so please stop by. We're here today to let you all know about some of the changes that we've had at the Village Inn. We're not just a bar. We have a restaurant with a wide variety of menus. Tuesday nights we have trivia, Wednesdays Wine Wednesday, and we have live music Wednesday through Sunday nights. And we also are very thankful to be expanding with a patio in the near future so we can enjoy all that Newport and Balboa Island have to offer as far as our wonderful climate. We've also ramped up our events business. So if you have any interest in having an event at Balboa or catering, please let us know as well. Thank you so much for having us. It's on Balboa Island at the very end of Main Street. So you just drive, and we're like the last building on the right. Yeah. We do have lovely hamburgers. Our menu is totally revamped. We have flank steak salad, braised short ribs. Everything's scratch kitchen, so nothing's prepackaged and brought in. It's all made from scratch. Look forward to hopefully seeing you guys there.
Thank you, Tracy. I also want to thank our sponsor. I don't think Dee Dee's here this morning, but Credit Union of Southern California Bank. They have a branch up here in the transition between City Hall and the library, and they're our series sponsor for the year. So thank you, Credit Union of Southern California. So are we done Pam, am I good to go? Okay, thank you. So, as I said, I was a city councilman here. I worked with our speaker for many years while on city council, actually helping to build the building next door. He had a lot to do with that, and a whole bunch of other projects, most recently the Little Balboa Island Bridge completion last week and the ribbon cutting. But Dave Webb currently serves as our Director of Public Works for the city of Newport Beach, and came to the city with over 31 years of diverse administration, management, and engineering experience in both municipal and private project design and construction, including land development and entitle processing. Dave oversees the city's $64 million capital improvement program. $64 million, just to give you a perspective, is probably more than most cities' general fund budget. And I mean, that's just the kind of money that we're spending here on improvements in our town. The capital improvement program, civil and transportation engineering, public right-of-way development and permitting, capital project construction and inspection, traffic and signal system operations, surface water quality compliance and conservation, harbor resources, and harbor master operations, which is actually a brand new function for the city, harbor master operations. Yep. Prior to being promoted to Director of Public Works for the city in August 2012, he served as City Deputy Director of Public Works and city for the I can't even read your city engineer for 5 years. Oh, he was the city engineer for 5 years. Prior to Newport Beach, Mr. Webb enjoyed 16 years with the city of Huntington Beach, where he served as a city engineer and deputy director of public works over utilities and maintenance operations. And before this, he worked for several consulting firms, including HDR Engineering and OTT Engineering. He earned a master's degree in public administration from Cal State University, Long Beach. Keith, didn't you go to Long Beach? I did. Okay, there we go. As well as a Bachelor of Science in Civil Engineering from Cal State Polytechnic University, Pomona, otherwise known as Cal Poly Pomona. He also is a licensed and registered professional civil engineer in California. I give you our Public Works Director, Dave Webb.
Well, good morning. It's great to be here this morning and have an opportunity to talk about some of the great things we're doing in town. And I thank you, Steve, for that introduction. Do have some experience, and I've had a great ride at Newport Beach. What a great city to work in if you're a civil engineer. There's so much to do here. A little too much. You see, my hair was a lot nicer earlier, and it wasn't so gray, and I had more of it. But we do a lot. So Steve asked me to go through some of our projects that we're working on now. But before we start on what we're working on now, I wanted to kind of go back just a little bit, because I get a lot of questions on what's happening here, what'd you do over here. You guys, unfortunately, hit some of our projects, traffic delays and things like that. So, sorry, I gave away my clue. Been a lot of talk in Washington lately before we get started about draining the swamp. So I want to let you know that we're doing something in Newport Beach too. We're actually draining the slough. Similink Slough was just recently dredged out over by Steve Rosansky's house. This is over behind Cappy's restaurant. There's a public waterway right there. Is that your dog, Steve? Is that your kids playing in that mud? No. So anyway, the city undertook a project recently to take out about 15,000 yards of material that's been built up in that. So we found all kinds of fun stuff. This is a picture of when we've drained it. That's behind Cappy's restaurant, right over on Coast Highway. It's called the Similink Slough. You can only see a little bit of it as you drive by on Coast Highway, but it wraps around the back of those houses. Right. It is a public waterway. If you want to go boarding down there, we have a park. You can go out there and board. One of the other projects we just recently finished up on the other side of town, Corona Del Mar, is our Poppy Avenue Ocean Boulevard. We just recently took out all the pavement and the trees and the sidewalk and replaced it. So in this picture, you can kind of see we're pouring concrete over there on Poppy, and then this is kind of a picture of what it looks like now. We've got new orchid trees in there, nice concrete, really nice improvements to that neighborhood. The other one, if you've been on the area on the east side of town with MacArthur Boulevard, if you've been on that project, sorry about the delays on that. I know we had to reroute you, but what a great project this turned out to be. And if you did notice on this, we used a new type of asphalt. We used rubberized asphalt with an open gap, so the cores between the rocks are a little bigger. The nice thing about it, it's a lot quieter. And you can notice that as you drive down the road and you go across the intersection of Bonita Canyon, you'll be just listening, or like I am listening. And then you'll notice as you go across the intersection, the noise levels will go up, because that's where we separate the project. So we're using this more and more on our arterials, and it helps our neighborhoods and keeps the noise down. Another project we just recently did too on the same level was Irvine Avenue, and this one included the rubberized asphalt, but we also did the median improvements you can see in the middle there. This turned out really nice and really beautifies that neighborhood, trying to spread the wealth around. We're always in different parts of the city, but If you want to see a natural project that we did, a restoration, this is has more to do with water quality, but this is Big Canyon. If you've ever probably not seen Big Canyon, you see it from Back Bay view. If you're down on the bay, the upper bay on Back Bay Drive, you can see part of it. And if you're going by Jamboree real quick, just as it goes down the dip there, you'll notice a big hedgerow. You can't see anything, but behind that hedgerow is this. And this is a water quality project. We are cleaning up some of the stuff coming down from the natural creek before it goes into bay. We also did a natural restoration. This had a lot of invasive species, pepper trees and things like that. So we took all that material out and we put back native plants, willows and other things. So it'll be a really nice park when it grows in. Right off by Park Newport, there's a little access point there as you're going along Jamboree. You can access it that way if you want to park and go down and walk through the park. And then, of course, Steve mentioned we just opened the Park Avenue Bridge. Great project. It's the bridge was approaching 100 years old. It took a little longer than we thought. We were just over a year to complete this. Interesting project because, of course, the bridge goes onto the little island, Little Balboa Island. There's only one bridge on the island, so first we had to build a temporary bridge. If you were over there, we built one over at Park Avenue, which is just being taken down now. And then this bridge was constructed and just recently opened, and you can see the council up there cutting the ribbon. It was a great day. It's good to get that one done behind us. Mr. Herden's right here, real happy about that. Lives on both sides of the bridge, so. Thank you for doing that. We got Congressman Rohrabacher out to his aide to thank him, because we did get a lot of federal money, which surprises me as a civil engineer. You don't usually see that kind of federal investment in a little bridge that goes to a small island. It's usually on the big stuff. Yes, ma'am.
Was it correct that the utilities were run all underneath that old bridge?
They go through the bridge. So yeah, we have cavities in. I don't believe we have any underneath of it. But there was a lot of utility coordination. There's a major gas line, sewer lines, other things. So part of the delay. Another list of just projects we've done recently, Grand Canal over on Little Island. We dredged that out. If you've looked around the city, probably at night, you've noticed the lights changed a little bit. All our Cobra lights, which are mainly on arterials, we switched out to an LED light. It's a little whiter light, a little sharper. Nice. Most people like it because you can see a little better. It's crisp. Newport Heights alleys just up by the high school up there. We just recently went through all those alleys and replaced the sewers and did an upgrade there because we're coming with another project to repave the alleys in concrete, so that'll come up, actually under construction now. Did a little work up at our police and fire stations. Number 2, we had to put some new roofs on there, the police station. Thanks, John, for letting us start your little fire, and we had a little issue over there and get the new roof on, but thanks, we're going through that. Our contractor actually, side note, started a little fire in the police building. We had to evacuate the police building. And, you know, it's like, really? Do we have to do this? But they got it all taken care of. And every job has a little excitement, and that was that one. Balboa Village Arch, if you've been down to Balboa Village, as you drive into it now, you'll see a nice arch there. It's a really nice feature. So when you go down there, look for that. And then we do an annual sidewalk concrete program, and also Mariners and Dover Shores area. There's our slurry programs this year. If you live up in that area, thank you for being patient with us. We have to re-slurry the streets, close them down. We do that every 7 years on all our residential streets. So what's under construction now? Things that might be in your way or maybe not. This is a really cool project, and Laura's here. This is our first pickleball courts. It's up at Bonita Canyon Sports Park. That actually is just the foundations of the courts that are going in. If you go up there and you'll know where the Reagan statue is, and you just go down a little further, just down the hill, we're building a new set of pickleball courts. And if you're interested in pickleball, talk to Laura. It's an upcoming sport, really exciting. We're happy to get our first courts. I'm sure there's a big long waiting list. There's people standing around going, got their paddles going, okay, am I ready to play yet? But this will be a popular place. One of our other projects, you've noticed some of our medians are not looking up to Newport standards. Thanks to Mr. Brown and our drought a couple years ago, they required us to not water any of our turf medians. So we've allowed them to just die. We've been saving water. Now that the drought's over, we're starting to replace that. But we can't put turf back in, so we'll be putting in ornamental plants and other features. So on San Joaquin Hills and also on San Miguel, you'll see new turf medians being replaced with new ornamental bushes. If you're into the boating side or like anything like that, over by Lido Village, the avenue just next to Newport Boulevard, it's called Central. As you look down, we're going to build a new public pier there. So if you're on the water and you want access to Lido Village, the pier is right up, going to be in the water. It's going to start here soon. It should be done by October. And then the little plaza right by the Elks Lodge there, it's kind of a parking lot right now. We're going to upgrade that, make it real nice as an entry port to Lido Village. So that's coming soon. Hopefully by Christmas we'll have that done and ready for you. And I'm happy to take any questions as we go or after, so just raise your hand. On the fire side, we've got a lot of fire stations that are really aging and need to be rebuilt. This is one over on Irvine Avenue. It's our Mariners Fire Station. We're going to actually take this little garage out of here. We're building a new apparatus bay. As you know, all the fire equipment for some reason keeps growing. It started with Explorers and Expeditions, then, I don't know, next phase. But the fire trucks won't fit in these old garages we have now because they're just more equipment higher. So we've got the fire truck. It's out back in a shed. We're going to build a new garage for it, and that'll be done here soon. And then we've got, I mentioned this earlier, Newport Heights Alley project. All the alleys up in Newport Heights are going to be replaced. They're asphalt alleys. They've got a lot of potholes and things like that. Right now we've been chasing that. So the council's appropriated money. We're going to put new concrete alleys in. That's underway now. The other important project that we've been doing on 15th Street is we're adding a sidewalk on the south side. This is a safety improvement enhancement. And we've also got some other sidewalks. You see Ensign School on there in Irvine, where for some reason, since grass all these years, we're finally going to put a sidewalk where the kids can walk on pavement versus grass. So coming up, what's possibly coming up, I should say, we're going to talk about this next Tuesday at the council meeting. We're looking to put a cap on Balboa Island, the big island. The little island, if you know, the seawall around it already has a cap. It was built back in the 80s. But the big island doesn't have a cap, and the walls are low, and we're seeing a lot of overtopping and splashing and concerned about storms and things like that. So we're going to hopefully get that approved, and then in the next few months we'll start that project. Yes? Oh, I'm sorry. So you can see the seawall here, and where the light standard is, we're going to add a 9-inch cap on that, basically a concrete. We're going to bore into that concrete there and add an extension on top of that, really to keep the water from splashing and overtopping in the island. We have seen a rise in the water level, whether you believe in global warming or not. I don't know what they're calling it, climate change, but over the last 100 years, we've seen about 8 to 10 inches of rise in records. So we know there's something going on. We're seeing more overtopping, but to safeguard that, we want to make sure we put a cap on there. And it's something we could extend later or just hold at that level. We'll monitor this over the next 10, 15 years.
Dave, so when it comes to the cap and when people try to get onto their pier, which most of the pier decks are level with the top of the wall now, they'll have to step over an additional level, or there'll be some kind of opening at the pier? How does that work?
I think the plan calls for you'll have a step, and eventually people, when they rebuild their piers, can raise it. The good example is the Little Island. Most people didn't raise their piers, so you just step over the wall, and it's 9 inches. It's a standard step. We're hoping that does. We're also going to put some cutouts, though, just because it may be difficult. It's a little higher wall to maintain the access we have now. All the street ends, we're going to leave a gap, basically, and then we'll have to come by during a high tide or storm surge and put some kind of like board in there to hold it out. Another project on our books, and we're still kind of debating when and what to start, is the Corona Del Mar Library and Fire Station. It's an older facility built in the 50s. We'd like to replace that. Still working out some of the details of it. I'm hoping that will get resolved and we'll get going on that in the next month or two here. So then in the design shop, we always have a lot of projects being worked on and moving forward. If you're familiar with the Newport Elementary School down on the peninsula, this is their field, and you can see the sand buildup that's coming off the ocean there. And the kids play in this, but it's tough to play soccer when your field's sloped at about 10 degrees. So all the balls tend to roll off in one direction. We're going to take that field and reshave it, raise it on one side, and put it in a more level field, and then put it in a wall right where you see that sand to keep that sand from blowing into it. Hopefully keeps the maintenance down. That should be coming here and basically starting in this winter. And then another one we've been talking about, this is the Newport Pier. You're probably familiar with the building in the end. The restaurant's been vacant for a long time. It's got a lot of problems in that restaurant, ADA problems, just structural problems. It basically needs to be torn down. So we've had a lot of council discussion, and then the outcome of that is basically, let's take the building off for now. We don't think we'll put a building back. We'll reserve the right, but we're going to go ahead and take the building off. We also need to get to the piles into there, because since the building's been there, we haven't been able to get to the piles. So we're going to replace all the supporting piles underneath when we take the building off. And then we'll put a concrete deck back on there, and then we'll have an open space for events or whatever the city chooses to use it for. On the traffic side, a lot of improvements that you probably hopefully feel you don't see so much is we've been doing a lot of modernization starting many years ago. The council directed us to modernize our signal system. Most of the city's done. There's a couple links left, and this is one of them. From Jamboree North out to Corona Del Mar has already been done. We've put in new controllers, fiber optic backbones. If you've ever had a chance to come to our traffic operations center, it's up on the second floor in Bay D. We operate our signals out of there, and you can come by. I'd be happy to show that to you. We're now tied into our signals. They used to run by themselves. They were a computer out in the field that just runs by itself. Now we've linked those together. We can bring it all the way back to City Hall here and change things on the fly. We can change the timings. We see you coming, we can make it red for you, or we can make it green for you. So be nice. On the other side of that, the state highways, Coast Highway is a state highway. So from Jamboree going to the Santa Ana River is all old equipment, and Caltrans can't seem to find the money and the resources to do it. So the city stepped up with the grant through OCTA and put some city money in, and we're going to update their facilities for them too. So hopefully we'll have a fiber optic backbone along that black line there. We'll put in all new controllers, and I'm surprised their equipment. We've had a couple times when the Coast Highway just melts down. And it turns out to be simple, like a clock, and one of the controllers is so old it stopped working, so the whole signal goes out. So we're hoping to modernize their equipment and get some reliability in it. And then we'll also, because we're doing that, we're going to extend our fiber optics and be able to see some of those signals. And maybe we won't be able to operate them yet, but we'll be able to look at them. This also includes some advanced technologies like changeable message signs. When you go out to Newport Coast, we're going to put a sign there. Hopefully when we have problems on the highway, which we often do, we can divert you different directions, give you some advanced notice on that. This will hopefully stop the two areas in town that you obviously have the most congestion on Coast Highway, usually through Corona Del Mar and Mariners Miles, where I hear all the complaints. So this hopefully will add a little bit of efficiency and smoother operations through those. Yes. So those will be now brought into the city. Right now we're running independently out there. I'm sorry about that too. State of California, I'll give you their number. On that same stretch, we've been talking for years about updating the landscaping on Coast Highway through West Newport. So this year the council put $1 million in the budget to start that project. It's about a $4 million project, the whole stretch between Newport Boulevard and the Santa Ana River. We're hoping to start down by the Santa Ana River and slowly every year move this direction and refresh the landscaping and upgrade a little bit. And then a bunch of other projects here that are in design. We've got Bayview Heights. That's up in Santa Ana Heights, right above the upper bay. We're doing a drainage project up there. We've got a big erosion issue on a property, trying to keep that material out of the bay. We've got some more work in some more fire stations. The Newport Center one in the Balboa Island, we're going to be doing interior remodels. And over in the Lido Village area, we've been doing a lot of work. There's some private investment going on there. We've also trying to reinforce the city's infrastructure. We've done all the work in Via Porto, the street right in front of it, but the area around it where the Lido House Hotel is being built, we still got to do some water mains and some infrastructure. So we'll be in there in the next bit here, starting in spring. We have a big storm drain that comes down Newport Boulevard too. Once in a while you hear we have a water quality problem right around the Newport Bridge right there at the turning basin. The Arches storm drain dumps into there, and what we're going to do is do a diversion there to try to take that low flow water that's coming down and take it and put it in the sanitary sewer. It should help and remove that ongoing water quality issue there. So that's an exciting project if you like the environmental water quality side. And then city park retaining walls and staircases. We have a project to kind of start. A lot of our parks are older, need some refreshing, built in the 60s, 70s, some of the 80s. And the wood railroad ties and other retaining structures are starting to show their age, so we're trying to do something there to get that caught up. And then another water main replacement project on Balboa Island. Sorry, Jeff, we got some more work coming your way. We've got to do some aging water lines need replacing. We also have a lot of crossings, if you're not aware. Our utilities cross the bay in several areas, and those pipes are rather old. They're at the bottom of the channels, so we want to replace some of those. And then if you've been following the undergrounding districts, if you're in one of these, the utility undergroundings, Balboa Boulevard, basically from about 23rd all the way up to Superior, is going to have a large project coming soon. We're undergrounding all the overhead utilities there on Balboa Boulevard and the adjacent streets. So that's going to start hopefully about 2018. We're in the design with the utilities right now on that. And then we have 4 other districts. Again, 3 of those are connected with Balboa Boulevard. And then there's one over in Corona Del Mar right behind the bungalow area over there. area there is going to underground their utilities again. That'll start somewhere in about 2018. So a little disruption in the neighborhood there. We're digging some trenches, taking the poles down, reconnecting all the homes. So I mentioned traffic. We also have some other exciting things in traffic. The mayor this year really wanted to start a little more traffic modernization, continuing where we left off. So we're going to adaptive transportation. What is that? Right now we run our signals. We used to run it with a set timing program. We go out the field, we plug it in the controller, and it'd just do its thing. Then we went and modernized it, so we brought it back to the city here, and we started being able to interact with it and put modern timing on it. The next phase is basically having the signals think a little bit more for themselves. That's the adaptive side. It'll start reading the loops in the field. If you've ever come up to a signal, you see a round loop. Those are inductive loops, and they start counting. They let the computer know you're there. So with that and some advanced technology, we can start having the signals kind of pre-read what's coming, how it's working, and start changing the timing on its own a little bit. That'll add a little more efficiency. Hopefully, we're actually got a pilot project now in MacArthur. We're going to try that first quarter, trying to relieve some of the congestion through Corona del Mar. We're actually moving towards maybe some kind of bypass program where we can, if Corona del Mar is too crowded, we can move you around through Newport Coast, maybe down San Miguel, that direction. So this is the start of that. We're also doing that on Newport Boulevard. If you've seen, we've done some improvements last year. We widened Newport Boulevard just after the bridge. We had a lane. That's going to be it's always a congestion point. It's really had a lot of relief with that third lane, but we're still seeing it, particularly in the summer. So we might be able to do some more advancements using adaptive programming. Other live things, the fiber optics, the message boards. We're talking about maybe trying to find ways that we could tell you how much parking is available on the peninsula. That's always a chore. Maybe there's a technology there. Other sensors and drivers that might come through your mobile apps that we can push data out. Might tell you, hey, go around Corona del Mar, it's crowded right now. Maybe working with the TCA to help on pricing to move things around. So a lot of things in this area you'll see over the next few years. And then another fire station that we're looking to remodel. Hopefully we got some good news on this soon. We'll be talking to council about it. This is over on 32nd Street, right behind the Lido House Hotel. And it's an older fire station. Actually, there's 11 staff in that small station, so we're looking to change that. It's one of our original stations, redo it, put a new modern station in there. You may have heard about the harbor dredging we're talking about. We need to do another major dredge project in the harbor. What we have found is we still have about 650,000 cubic yards of material that have come down over the years and are in the lower parts of the harbor that are basically above the original design depth, and we need to remove that material. So we've been lobbying and working with the federal government to try to get them interested. It's about a $17 million project that we're starting to go on. It's very regulatory intensive being in the water, and you can imagine you got Coast Commission, Coast Guard, Fish and Wildlife, someone's brother, they all want to have a bite of it. So we're going to try to see if we can get this done. The unique thing is, this top picture here is kind of what they call a clamshell dredge. Goes down real noisy, grabs some material, brings up to a barge, drops it, and then they haul that material off about 4 miles off the coast and drop it off. We're going to try to do something more like the bottom there where we use like a suction dredge. That's how they built the harbor in the first place. They basically have a big cutter head in the bottom. They just suck the material off, pump it off with a slurry, and drop it off somewhere else. In fact, a lot of the islands, Lido Island, Balboa, they didn't go far enough on Balboa, but that's how they built them. They kind of dredged the material up and made an island out of it. We're hoping to take this material and maybe drop it off the coast, maybe do beach recharge off it. Maybe it comes off the wedge area, or central Balboa. We put it out in the sea and try to help reinforce our beaches with it, the sandy material off the bottom. So that hopefully will be coming in a few years. I can't say how quick it'll go. We're actively pursuing it. Another couple projects here we're working on. Like I mentioned, every year we do a slurry project. We go around the city in a 7-year cycle. So next year, if you happen to live in Harborview or Seawind or Spyglass areas, we're coming your way. We're going to do a concrete program first, replace all the broken concrete, and then we'll come back and do a slurry project right behind that. We have several concrete street programs this year. There's some streets up there in Corona del Mar and other areas. We're going to be replacing that concrete pavement. Most of those pavements are 80, 90 years old. And then on our asphalt side, our overlays, those streets there are Irvine, Marguerite, Hospital, MacArthur. You'll be seeing, kind of like we just showed you on MacArthur and Irvine Avenue, we're going to be doing work in those areas. couple of the projects on the far horizon we're working on. We've had some discussions with council and the community. This is Sunset Ridge Park up there on the top, right across the street. That parking lot is what we call Lower Sunset View Park. And what we'd like to do is make a connection there. There's some kind of bridge. I don't think I have a pointer here. Yeah, I do. We're talking about a bridge maybe going across here to get this parking lot utilized and connect with this park here. There's also a thought is to get the bridge across here because this is a huge pedestrian movement. And pedestrians and signals and streets don't always mix well. The pedestrians cause a lot of delay in our signal system. So if we can get them up and over, it's a safer connection. It also helps the intersection capacity. So that's a project we're hoping to work on in the near future. We have to talk to council about maybe what we want to do here. We talked about more parking. The Park Rec Commission would like to maybe explore maybe a smaller dog park in this area on this side of town because this one's been so successful on this side. So all that's might be coming down the road. We're just kind of getting started on it. Another project on the, starting now, I call it the far horizon because we have a lot of work to do, is Marine Avenue here. You can see a picture looking down Marine. Rather old street, beautiful street, got a lot of concrete breakup. The streets needs to be replaced. We have some tree issues. So we're working with that community now to start talking about what do we want to do here? Do we want to replace the whole street, put in, kind of like we've done in other areas, we'll take out the sidewalks, curbs, pavement, redo the whole thing, put in new street trees, what kind of theme you'd like. So that's an active conversation that's just starting on the island now, and we'll hopefully have that for you soon. So with that, that's just a snapshot. I got some others. I couldn't show it all. There's a lot of projects out there, but I'm happy to answer any questions on that. So I'll turn it over to you folks, or Steve, how you want to do it. You know, I actually going to turn to look the track at Harbor Heights. Probably a rubberized material. They use that a lot now, kind of like you see on the playgrounds we use, the soft, but it's a little stiffer than that. But it's more of a rubberized product. Let me grab that third rail over here. Sidewalks and lights in Newport Heights. Well, we have two thoughts on there. We have a new group of folks coming in that would like to see more sidewalks and lights. We have a lot of residents that bought in that area and like the country charm and do not want sidewalks and lights. So I'm sure we'll be having some discussions on it. No direction right now. That's the fourth rail. Yeah, I don't see it rising right now. There could be some small pockets, but there's nothing that I know of right now. It just kind of died off.
Well, you guys already left the contract for the paving of the alleys, right?
Alleys are being paved, so the ship's probably sailed. It's going to get very expensive now if they want to replace it.
Regarding the building at the end of the Newport here,
Mm-hmm.
taken down, I saw at the Speak Up Newport, there was a lecture regarding putting a new restaurant there, I think, about Blue Water Grill.
Right.
Is that not happening?
We were negotiating with Blue Water Grill, and it just turned out that wasn't going to work the way they planned, and the council right now says, let's just go ahead and take the building off. So, could come back in the future. Any other questions? Infrastructure, projects, traffic?
Using the same material north of Bison that you use south of Bison on that re-asphalting?
Most likely. Bison's an arterial, so it'll probably go in like MacArthur. It'll be a rubberized pavement. Hopefully keep the noise down. Yes, sir.
Does the rubberized pavement get more dust and stuff? Does it break down?
Actually, no. When I refer to rubberized pavement, what they do is that normal asphalt, and they add a rubber modifier to it. And oftentimes it comes from ground up used tires. They get the crumb rubber. Sometimes it's just latex. They use a spin-off latex and they put it in with it. It gives it a more elastic, just a little bit, just enough to move a little. And with the more open graded mix, some of the sound goes down and hits more of a elastic material than a hard material, and that reduces the noise. It also, by the way, also keeps the cracks down because it's just a little bit, not that you notice, gives it a little more give than standard rigid pavement. Should get the same length. The other thing we find on rubberized pavement, it stays blacker longer because the pavements will oxidize and kind of turn white over time, and the rubber in there keeps it a little more new looking black. So should be a good product. Yes, ma'am.
Do you have a date for the Lido fire station? That was a part of allowing them to put that hotel in and use the city property.
Yeah, I think the discussion we've had there, we've been talking about moving the fire station, and that's what's kind of held us up. The parcel it's on now is rather small, and it's a large fire station. I think it's got 4 pieces of equipment and 11 folks. We can probably fit it on there, but you're really shoehorning it in. So what we've been looking for is an opportunity to move that station, actually even improve its response time a little bit. So that's hopefully going to be concluded here soon. I think we have some news we're going to have to talk to council about. And if we make a decision, then we'll start the station. And figure it, you've got 6 to 8 months of permitting and plans, and then about probably another year, maybe a year and a half to build the station. So a few years out, we'll have it done. In the meantime, the other one would stay where it's at.
You know, you really compromised that station, I think, by allowing the hotel there. You watch with all the people around in the summer traffic and these poor firemen trying to get through that. I hope you really think that one through if you need it to a better spot.
Yeah, we are working with the fire department on that. Little known secret, the fire department has the magic button to our signals. So they can, their trucks can turn our signals green. That's how they get through so quickly. Unfortunately, it disrupts all the traffic and you wait a little longer, but that's one of the secrets to making that station work. So, yes, sir.
I have a friend that writes a dredging magazine, and he's having trouble getting information from the city. Should he contact you?
It depends what he's going to ask me, but yes. We're happy to give you any information we have.
He calls there, but he can never get the right people.
I'd be happy to have him call me, and I'll point him in the right direction. So.
We could write all kinds of stories about you.
Oh, gosh. No. Thank you for the comment. Most of those wouldn't be good, I'm sure, but yeah, we'll bring Steve in there. He's better at the stories. Any other last questions?
Going back to the harbor dredging, which I like, suction dredge, have you looked at putting permanent conduits, from the bay out to the ocean so you can, connect to it and permanently, pump the stuff out? We used to have a dredge that, Showmaker used to run all the time, and it kept the bay reasonably good.
Actually, good point, Pierre, and we have talked about that. It's kind of a vacuum in the bottom system. If you're familiar with the pipes in your walls, you can vacuum. We've talked about sinking a piping system on the bottom that you just plug in and going to a more maintenance dredging. So, point, I don't know if we would or not. Maybe the city, for instance, Santa Cruz has the same model. They own a dredge, and the dredge is used 8 months a year, and it just constantly works around the harbor because you constantly have silt and material coming down from San Diego Creek. So once we get the bulk out, maybe we have a small dredge, and there is a vacuum pipe system where they're out there to kind of plug in, and that material is just discharged out towards the beach.
There are a couple of places on the peninsula that weren't widened too much when they dredged the bay out. So it's a short, tunnel that you have to put in.
It's an excellent idea. We also thought we could use it when it's not used for dredging as a circulation, bring more water into the bay, because some of the areas away in the back by Newport Island, a little stagnant. The tide just doesn't flush it enough. So if we had ability to bring more seawater in, just to keep it circulating, the dredging by itself will improve navigation and improve the water quality because we'll get more flushing. But something like that could be used. The struggle we'll have is permitting. The state and regulatory agencies just aren't in favor of putting a pipe through the peninsula. And
Different levels of the tide. If you connect to the ocean by the river, versus inside of Newport Island, there's what, a 1 or 2 foot difference, a 1 foot difference.
there's a little bit, yeah.
And you can do this, you get better flushing.
We are talking about it, whether we can get it done, but it's a good point. Any other questions? Thank you for your time today.
That was certainly quite an exhaustive list of projects. I think a city the size of Anaheim would have even a list of projects that large going on all at one time. So we're all fortunate, the ones certainly that live or work here in Newport Beach, to have a city that invests this much in our infrastructure. I think that's why, aside from the other natural attributes here in Newport Beach, that people, want to visit and live here. So just quickly to wind up, I'll let you know about some of our other meetings that are coming up in the near future. In 2 weeks, on August 16th, I don't know that we have it solidified yet. That's normally our business lunch date over at the Yacht Club. We're not having the business luncheon this month. Instead, we're trying to put together a seminar with a speaker we've had recently. She does a great program on teaching you how to incorporate video into your marketing and your emails, and that's the future now. Everything is video. Pictures, no one wants pictures anymore. They want moving pictures. So Sheldon here is shaking his head. He's been preaching that for 2 or 3 years now, I think. So I think you're a little ahead of your time, Sheldon, but everybody's catching on now. So that'll be August 16th if we get that together. Maybe here, do you think? I don't know. Tim, can you make that happen? Tim Heatherton, he's the director of the library. He snuck in after the meeting started, but we'll talk to you afterwards. Our next, who's been to our new office yet? New office? Who's been to one of our patio functions, the open house, the barbecue on the lake? Okay, well, have they been great or what? Great setting, fabulous. So the next lakeside barbecue is August 18th. That's at our offices at 4343 Von Carmen Avenue, next to the Pacific Club. If you know where the Pacific Club, we're directly next door on the lake. It's free. Just stop on by. It's from 4:30 to 6, and usually concludes about 7. Officially it's 6, but realistically 7 o'clock. People hang around. But if you're there at 7, you got to help us clean up. So, but it'll be a lot of fun. We had, I think, 100 people at the last one. I'm sorry? August 18th, 4:30 to 6, 7-ish. On August 24th is our next chamber mixer. We are leaving the city of Newport Beach, but they are a chamber member. We're going to Seasons 52 over at South Coast Plaza. So great spot. Food over there is great, and drinks are really good too. A side benefit. September 5th, we actually have a great meeting coming up with our Marine Committee. Our Marine Committee meets over at Sunset Ridge Park from 5:30 to 6:30. On September 5th, we're going to have the new harbor, what do we call him, the harbor master? Harbor master, yeah. Dennis Dugan, right? Durgan. Dennis Durgan will be our speaker. So in case you don't know, the harbor up until just a few weeks ago or months ago was kind of overseen by the sheriff's department. The city contracted with the sheriffs, and they kind of rode around on their boats with their guns and everything. And I think the city felt that probably was a little bit of overkill for policing the harbor and taking care of the mundane things there. So we've actually hired a harbor master, and I think there's 2 or 3 employees that work under him now. We have like 3 boats, and how many? 13 employees? Whoa, 13, huh? Part-time. Okay, part-time. 6. That's like 6.5 equivalents or something. Yeah, whatever. Anyway, we enforce the harbor, regulations, the speed limits and the moorings and things like that. We've taken it over. So, and as Dennis is finding out, that be careful what you wish for, because it's not always a happy job out there on the water. So it'll be a good opportunity to meet him and come and hear what he has to say and what the plans are for the harbor. Our next Wake Up Newport meeting is September 7th. Unfortunately, my speaker canceled on me yesterday. We were having the head of the AQMD, so boycott the AQMD now that they're not coming. We'll try and have him later on, so we'll have to backfill that speaker, but please join us. Upcoming also is Claude Parrish from the county will be here. Later months, Chip Duncan, our new fire chief, will be here in January. Michael Cramen with the Orange County Toll Road Authority, the president of that, or director, I don't know what his title is, but he'll be coming, so we got a great lineup of upcoming events. And then last but not least, September 21st is our Government Affairs Committee meeting. We have that meeting also at our office at 7:30 in the morning, but had about 25 people there the last time. It was a great meeting. Pierre was our speaker. We learned everything you needed to know about how water gets delivered to Orange County in an economical and efficient way. So. And more, yeah, and more. Got to pare that down about 10 minutes. But no, it was a great talk, and I've been involved with the city and government and water for years, and I learned a few things that I didn't know. So always informative. Thank you all for coming. If you're not a chamber member, you should be. See Jim Miller back there, or Jim Villers, sorry. Jim's been with us 30 years. He just came back from a knee surgery. This is the first time I think I've seen him in a suit in a month. So thank you, Jim, for all you do for us. You what? Clip-on tie, clip-on suit, yeah. You need one on a humid day like today. Have a great week, and we'll see you next event. Thank you.